We are going to see about bronchodilators in this presentation. I am P. N. Anjani, Assistant Professor from Sri Balaji College of Nursing, will present on bronchodilators in this presentation. Bronchodilators are a type of medications that make breathing easier by relaxing the muscles in the lungs and widening the airways. So, in order to understand bronchodilators, you need to have an overview of asthma. Only then bronchodilators are easily understandable. Asthma is characterized by a reversible bronchospasm. So the bronchus become very spasmodic in condition and also associated with inflammation and hyperactive airways. The hyperactivity is triggered by allergens or non-allergenic inhale irritants or by factors such as exercise and emotions. The trigger causes an immediate release of histamine, which results in bronchospasm in about 10 minutes. The later response is about 3 to 5 hours is cytokinin mediated inflammation, mucus production, and edema contributing to the obstruction. The appropriate treatment depends upon understanding the early and late response of the asthma. The extreme case of asthma is called status asthmaticus. This is life-threatening bronchospasm that does not respond to usual treatment and occludes airflow into the lungs. So, status asthmatic is the extreme case and it's an end case that has to be treated very intensively. So this gives an overview of asthma and what happens to the bronchus during the phase of asthma and how this broncho spasm takes place, how this bronchodilators helps. We're going to see in the forthcoming slides. So this is about the picture of a person taking bronchodilator. When bronchodilators are inhaled, you see the already bronchus are very much constricted. So once bronchodilators are taken inside, so it causes the muscles relaxed. That's why this helps a person in breathing. How does bronchodilators works? Bronchodilators help to relax the muscles in the lower airways, opening the bronchi and bronchial, which are small passageways in the lungs that help a person to breathe. So, dilating these passageways makes it easier for oxygen to flow into the lungs. This is how a bronchodilator helps. So already muscles in the lower airways are very much constricted. So bronchodilators, when taken inside, it causes the opening of the bronchi and bronchioles. So these are already very small passages which are very much constricted during asthma. So bronchodilators helps in the opening of this passage so that help a person to breathe. So dilatation of this passage are very much important for the person to take breathing normally. This is how the comparison of a bronchus during the three phases. First picture shows the representation of a normal bronchus. So there is the muscles and there is a lining. But during asthma attack, the second picture shows how a bronchus goes for constriction. So the lining and the muscles get constricted and making difficult for the person to breathe. And after medicines shows how much relaxed the bronchus is, like how the muscles and lining of the bronchus are relaxed, thereby helping the person to breathe again. This is a typical comparison of a bronchus during the normal phase, asthma phase, and after a medicine phase. So we have to understand that there are short-acting bronchodilators and long-acting bronchodilators. Bronchodilators may be either short-acting, used as a short-term relief from sudden unexpected attacks of breathlessness. Short-acting bronchodilators work quickly, usually within a few minutes' time. Although they work fast, the therapeutic effects generally only last 4 to 5 hours. So even though it works fast, the therapeutic effects will usually last for 4 to 5 hours. Short-acting bronchodilators treat sudden symptoms, and people do not use to them when they are symptom-free. So they helps to the sudden symptoms only when they are free. People are not going to use the short-term bronchodilators. We'll see about long-term bronchodilators also. Common short-acting bronchodilators include albuterol, pro-HFA, Ventolin HFA, Proventolin HFA. So these are all classical example of short-acting bronchodilators. Levobuterol, so it's other name of Zofenex HFA, Pirbuterol, and Maxarin. So these are all examples of short-acting bronchodilators that we have to consider when treating a patient with bronchioconstriction. So we'll say about the long-acting bronchodilators. Long-acting, it's are usually regularly used to control breathlessness in asthma and also COPD cases to increase the effectiveness of corticosteroids in asthma. So already a patient is getting corticosteroids. In order to increase the efficiency of corticosteroid, you are adjuvanting with the these kinds of long-acting bronchodilators, and these are made into combination. It gives excellent results to the patient. Long-acting bronchodilators do not work as quickly as short-acting bronchodilators and do not treat acute or sudden symptoms. This is very important that it does not act as quickly as short-acting bronchodilators and do not really treat acute or sudden symptoms. But these effects typically last for about 12 to 24 hours. And people take them daily to prevent symptoms from developing. So people who are on the long-term phases, they'll go for this long-term affecting long-acting bronchodilators. Common long-acting bronchodilators include salmeterol, formoterol, aclidinum, tiotropium, and umeclidinum. So these are all classical examples of long-acting bronchodilators. They are often used to treat long-term They are often used to treat long-term conditions where the airways may become narrow and inflamed, such as asthma, a common lung condition caused by inflammation of the airways, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease COPD, a lung disease usually caused by smoking, which causes a blockage of the airways. Although this can be partially reversed with a treatment. So these are often used to treat a very long-term conditions like COPD conditions and all. So we have to consider when a person's are with acute symptoms, they have to be given on short term, and they are if they are for a long term, they have to consider with the long term activities. We'll see about the type of bronchodilators. There are three most widely used bronchodilators such as beta-2 agonists such as salbutamol, salmeterol, formoterol, and vilanterol. So this is the first type among the bronchodilators. Second type is anticholinergics such as ipratropium, tiotropium, aclidinium, and glycopyrronium. And third is theophylline. These are all three different types of bronchodilators. Beta 2 agonists. Beta 2 agonists are used for both asthma and COPD. Although some types are only available for COPD, they are usually inhaled using a small handheld inhaler, but may also be used as a tablets also or syrup also. For sudden severe symptoms, they can be also be injected and nebulized. So a nebulizer is a compressor used to turn liquid medications into a fine mist, allowing a large dose of medicines to be inhaled through a mouthpiece or a face mask. Beta 2 agonist works by stimulating a cells called beta 2 receptors in the muscles of the airways, which cause them to dilate and allows the airways to even more dilate. So this is about beta 2 agonist. They should be used with caution with people with overactive thyroid. In the case of hypothyroidism, a condition that occurs when there is too much of thyroid hormones in the body, cardiovascular disease, any disease of the heart or blood vessels, and people with arrhythmias, that is an irregular heartbeat, with hypertension and diabetes. So diabetes, a long lifelong condition, is that causes a person's blood sugar level to become too high. So these are all to be conditions to be taken into considerations when you are putting a patient on bronchodilators. Then we are going to see about anticholinergics. Anticholinergics are also known as antimuscarinics, are mainly used for COPD, but a few are licensed for asthma too. They are usually taken using an inhaler, but may be nebulized to treat a sudden and severe symptoms. So these are especially for COPD, but sometimes it's used for asthma too. Anticholinergics cause the airways to dilate by blocking the cholinergic nerves. These nerves release the chemicals that can cause the muscles to lining the airways to tighten. So this is the second kind of drugs that has to be considered when treating a bronchial asthma or COPD. They should be used with caution in people with benign prostate hyperplasia. It's a kind of non-cancerous swelling of the prostate. A bladder outflow obstruction, any condition that affects the flow of urine out of the bladder, such as bladder stones or prostate cancer, and glaucoma. Glaucoma is a buildup of pressure in the eyes. So this conditions has to be considered and should be contraindicated when using a bronchodilators for patients. In person with benign prostate hyperplasia or a bladder outflow obstruction, anticholinergics can cause urination problems. Glaucoma worse if anticholinergic medicines unintentionally gets into the eyes. So this is very important. Do not anyway get into the eyes of a person because it will cause condition worse. It will make the condition worse if a patient is having a glaucoma. So these are all contraindication cases that you have to consider when putting a patient on bronchodilators. Then we are going to see about theophylline. Theophylline is usually taken in tablets or capsule form, but a different version called aminophylline can be given directly into a vein, which is in the form of intravenous medicine. If your symptoms are very severe, it is unclear exactly how the theophylline works, but it seems to reduce any inflammation in the airways. In addition to relaxing the muscles lining them, the effect of theophylline is weaker than other bronchodilators and corticosteroids. It is also more likely to cause side effects. So it's often only used alongside these medicines if they are not enough effective. So this is weaker than any kind of bronchodilators and corticosteroids, more likely to cause side effects also. So if effects are found to be helpful, really helpful, only then this has to be considered. Theophylline should be used with caution in people with overactive thyroid, that is hyperthyroidism, cardiovascular disease, liver problems such as liver disease, high blood pressure, stomach ulcers, open sores that develop on the stomach linings, epilepsy, and condition affects the brain and causes the repeated seizures. So these are all the condition has to be considered when you're putting the patients on theophylline. Theophylline may cause this condition to get worse. In people with liver problems, it can sometimes lead to a dangerous buildup of medications inside the body. Other medicines can also cause abnormal buildup of theophylline in the body, and this should always be checked by your doctor. Elderly people may also need additional monitoring while they are on theophylline. So, because this theophylline may cause this condition even more worse, and especially in the case of liver problems. So, continuous monitoring of a person is very much important if you are planning to put a patient on theophylline kind of drugs. We'll see about the side effects of bronchodilators. Many side effects are there, and it keeps varying depending upon the specific kind of medicine and depending upon the person. It keeps varying. We'll see the common side effects, which is all very common for bronchodilators. Make sure you read the leaflet that comes along with your medicines to see what are the specific side effects are. So every medicine will carry a literature you have to go through. Only then you can understand what are the side effects which is common for your kind of drug that is given to your patient. So general side effects of bronchodilators include trembling, particularly in the hands, headaches, a dry mouth, sudden noticeable heartbeat. Suddenly patient will have palpitations, muscle cramps, a cough, nausea, and diarrhea. So these are all common side effects you can expect when patient is on bronchodilators. Forms. In what all forms do you can see of bronchodilators? Inhaled version of bronchodilators are very common. Inhaling the medications allows it to go to the lungs faster. It also allows a person to take smaller dose of the drugs and result in a fewer body bite side effects than when people take them orally. So side effects are comparatively less when they taken them orally. Best type of bronchodilators to take may depend on person's age, the level of consciousness, and their preferences. So, a main drugs It may depends upon the person's age, whether they are conscious or not, and whether they're accepting to take by orally or by inhalation, whatever it is. Matching the best device to the person's ability will provide the most effective treatment. So you have to match whichever is suitable for that person, that you have to match, only then it will be a most effective treatment. It is important to understand how to take bronchodilators correctly to ensure the medication possibly gets into the lungs. So this is important. You have to ensure that patient is getting a proper method of drug dose, and proper method of drugs is being given to the patient. Only then you can see expected results out of the drugs. The most common ways of administering bronchodilators includes metered dose inhalers. A metered dose inhaler is a small pressurized canister that contains a medication. The device releases the medicine when a person presses down on a canister. A propellant in the MDI carries a dose of medicine into the lungs. So this is very commonly used. It's a kind of small pressurized canister that contains the medicines. So the device releases the medicine when pressed down. So this is very commonly used by almost all asthmatic patients. Then nebulizers. A nebulizer uses bronchodilator medications in the form of a liquids and turns into an aerosol. Then the person then inhale through a mouthpiece. By means of a mouthpiece, they inhales the aerosols, which is given through a nebulizer. This is also again a other kind of treatment given to the person. A research published in the International Journal of Chronic Obstructive Pulmonary Disease indicates that aerosol from a soft mist inhalers are slower moving and longer lasting than those of MDIs, meaning they deliver more medications to the lungs and less on the back of the throat. So this is very much important, and it has been stated in the International Journal of Chronic Obstructive Pulmonary Disease. It has been telling that the aerosols from a soft mist inhalers are more powerful and very good in comparing to the other metered dose inhalers. So this has to be considered. Other forms. Additional forms of bronchodilators include tablets and syrups. Determining the best way to administer a bronchodilator is vital to ensure that a person gets the correct dose of medication. For example, if a person cannot effectively coordinate taking up an MDA, some of the medication may end up in the back of the throat or the mouth instead of the lungs. So this is very important. The medicine shouldn't stay within the back of the throat or the lungs. It has to reach the lungs. So in such a way, the medicine has to be planned. Only then this bronchodilator will be helpful for the person. So apart from that, you have dry powder inhaler. A dry powder inhaler does not have a propellant, and the bronchodilator is in a powdered form. Soft mist inhaler. Some bronchodilators are available in soft mist inhalers. Soft mist inhaler deliver an aerosol cloud into the lungs without a propellant. So these are all other types of inhalers. Pregnancy and breastfeeding. In most cases, bronchodilators should be taken as normal while pregnant or breastfeeding. However, speak to a general practitioner if you are really using bronchodilators or consider having a baby and think you are maybe pregnant. Pregnancy may affect your asthma, so it's important to continue taking your medication and have it monitored regularly to ensure the condition is controlled. So this is very important. If a person is found to be pregnant, or if they are under breastfeeding, it should be considered when putting the patient on bronchodilators. Interaction with other medicines. Bronchodilators may interact with other medicines, which could affect the way the work or increase your risk of side effects. Some of the medicines that can interact with bronchodilators, particularly theophylline, includes some diuretics, a type of medication that helps remove fluid from your body. So, in the case of diuretics, giving a theophylline has to be considered. Natural bronchodilators. So, as we all have a habit of drinking coffee and tea, so caffeine is a natural and mild bronchodilator. Tea contains a small amount of theophylline, as we all know, and caffeine-like substance in tablet form. Theophylline, that is unifilin, is one of the least frequently used prescription drug options for asthma. So, coffee and tea, they are considered to be a natural and mild bronchodilator. So, anybody is having breathing difficulty, we can consider giving them a coffee or a tea. We are going to see about the nursing considerations for a patient who's on bronchodilators. So this is very much important because monitoring of a person on bronchodilators is very much essential. Nursing assessment is very much essential, and nursing interventions are even more important for when patients are under bronchodilators. We'll see about nursing assessment. History taking and physical examination of a patient taking bronchodilators or anti-asthmatics. Assess for possible contraindications or cautions. Any known allergies to prevent hypersensitivity reactions. So cigarette use while which affects the metabolism of the drug, peptic ulcers, gastritis, hepatic dysfunction, coronary disease, all of which could be exacerbated and require cautious use. So as we all said, we have to go through any contraindications are there, whether really cautious conditions are there has to be considered before planning for bronchodilators. So even pregnancy and lactations, which are contraindications because of the potential for the adverse effects on the fetus or a nursing baby. So nursing assessment is very much important, and look for patients capability to have bronchodilators has to be considered. Perform a physical examination to establish a baseline data for assessing the effectiveness of the drug and the occurrence of any adverse effects associated with drug therapy. Perform a skin examination, including the color and the presence of lesions to provide a baseline as a reference for a drug effectiveness. Apart from that, monitor blood pressure, pulse, cardiac auscultation, peripheral perfusion, and baseline electrocardiogram to provide a baseline for effects on cardiovascular system. So simultaneously, you keep checking for blood pressure, pulse rate, cardiac auscultation, and peripheral perfusions. This will give you a baseline data along with ECG in order to see the effects of on the cardiovascular system. So we'll see about the nursing implications. What kind of interventions can be given for patients under using bronchodilators or anti-asthmatics? First of all, you have to relieve the GI upset. Administration of oral drugs with food or milk to relieve GI irritation if GI upset is going to be the problem for the patient. Monitor drug response. Monitor patient response to the drugs. Example, relief of a respiratory difficulty improved airflow to determine the effectiveness of the drug dose and to adjust dose as needed. And finally, provide comfort to the patient. Provide comfort measures including rest periods, quiet environment, dietary control of caffeine, and headache therapy as needed to help the patient to cope with the effects of drug therapy. Apart from that, individual drug response is very much important. Reassure the patient that the drug of choice will vary with each individual. These sympathomimetics are slightly different chemicals and are prepared in a variety of delivery systems. A patient may have to try several different sympathomimetics before the most effective one is found. Proper administration and dosage. Advise the patient to use minimal amount needed for the shortest period necessary to prevent adverse effects and accumulation of drug levels. So advise the patient to use minimal use so that the body will not so much depend on the drugs and for a shortest period in order to reduce the adverse effects. Proper use of sympathomimetics. Teach the patient who use one of these drugs for exercise-induced asthma to use it for 30 to 60 minutes before exercising. So, in order to ensure a peak therapeutic effects when they are needed. So, if you are going for a exercise before half an hour to 1 hour, the medicine has to be taken so that it will ensure a peak therapeutic effect at the needed time. Use of Use of adrenergic blockers. Alert the patient that long-acting adrenergic blockers are not for use during acute attacks because they are slower acting and will not provide the necessary rescue in the state of acute bronchospasm. Increase oral fluid intake. Ensure adequate hydration. Provide environmental controls such as the use of humidifier to make the patient more comfortable. Encourage voiding. Encourage the patient to avoid before each dose of medication to avoid urinary retention related to drug effects. Small and frequent meals. Provide small frequent meals and sugarless lozenges to relieve dry mouth and GI upset. It's all very important. So you have to keep comfortable. You make the patient to avoid. Ask the patient to take a small frequent meals. You have to increase the oral fluid intake. These are all to be basic steps that has to be considered when you're using the arterigenic blockers. And the use of inhalers. Review the use of inhalers with the patient. Caution the patient not to exceed more than of 12 inhalations in 24 hours in order to prevent serious adverse effects. Educate the patient regarding the drug name, what is the prescribed dosage measure, and how to avoid adverse effects and warning signs that has may indicate the problems, and need for a pediatric monitoring and evaluation to enhance patient knowledge about drug therapy and to promote compliance. Provide patient support, afford support and encouragement with the patient to cope up with the disease and the drug regimen. Evaluation part. Evaluation of patient using bronchodilators and anti-asthmatics includes monitoring the patient response, how the airflow is, ease of respiration, improved breathing. All this has to be considered. Monitor for adverse effects of CNS, increased pulse of BP, and GI upsets, dry skins, mucous membranes. All has to be monitored. Evaluate the effectiveness of teaching plan. Patient can name the drugs, whether the dosage is very much familiar with the patient, adverse effects to watch for, specific measures to avoid them, measures to take to increase the effectiveness of the drug. All those things has to be considered when giving patient when putting patients on bronchodilators. So it is the main responsibility of a nurse to go through the what all the actual what is the adverse effect of the medicines has to be taught to the patient, and overuse of medicines has to be avoided apart from the general comfort of the patient. And you have to make the patient to follow proper intake output chart and all, and has to be monitored. Apart from the intake and output has to be monitored, their response and their hypertension levels has to be monitored. If a patient is going to be diabetic and all, that has to be monitored. Patient saturation level, breathing pattern, everything has to be monitored. Even skin changes also has to be considered, because this patient are at the higher risk of going for adverse effect. However, the medicine is going to be, you're going to give, whether in the form of inhalations, whether it's going to be a powdered form, whether it's going to be tablets, syrups, everything has to be considered. And you should not put the patient for a long term, and overdose of medicine has to be avoided. So every time the patient has to be given good awareness of about the what kind of drug they are giving, how much effective dose is expected, and what causes adverse effect when the dose reaches to what level, and what specific measures they have to be taken. Everything has to be taught to a patient in a very clear manner, so that you can avoid any untoward reactions happening. And moreover, patient diabetic level and hypertensive levels has to be considered. These patients, however way they prefer, like if it is going to be a metered inhalation, or it's going to be a powdered form, or it's going to be a tablets or syrups or injections, however the way the patient is expecting, you have to give the choice to the patient. You make them informed, then help them to take a decision out of it, unless it is very emergency. Otherwise, you can let the patient to take a decisions upon in what way they are expecting to use these kinds of bronchodilators. Bronchodilators are very much important in the case of treating all kinds of majority of respiratory illness, like asthma, COPD and all. So patient with all this respiratory illness cannot be treated without bronchodilators. So the knowledge of bronchodilators is very much essential, and the teaching of patients also is very much important. And nurse's role is even more important, where we have to monitor everything at the earliest, and you have to make a chart of the adverse effects that could be expected out of drugs that can be given. So this is all gaining its importance day by day. So you have to plan a chart, you have to maintain a report, you have to maintain a vital signs chart. So you have to do a physical examination of the client, however they are. You have to explain, and you have to make a proper history collection and a physical examination to the client, so that we can prevent any untoward incidents happening. And you have to prevent the patient being addicted to these kinds of drugs for a long term, as it may cause us long-term effects also. Moreover, patients who are really contraindicated for these kinds of drugs has to be considered, like patient with hypertension and patient with prostate enlargement and all. So this all have to be considered, and patient with other electrolyte imbalances, and patient with certain respiratory problems and hypertensive disorders. So everything has to be considered when you are giving these kinds of medicine to the patient. So bronchodilators is a very much needed drug of the heart when patient is on bronchospasm. So bronchodilators is a very easy to be given to a patient, and very fast working also, as we all know short term and long term drugs are there. So it doesn't need any medical assistance also, patient can take on their own also. So these kinds of drugs has to be given to the patient at the need of the required need of to the patient. So this is about bronchodilators. Hope you all would have understood about this topic. So people with a lung condition can work with the health provider to determine if the benefits or the bronchodilators outweigh the possible side effects. So only if the benefits are going to be more than the possible side effects, you should consider the people with lung condition to put on bronchodilators. This is very much important. So you have to keep a balance of side effects and the benefits. If benefits are more than the side effects, then really bronchodilators are essential. Otherwise, it's good to neglect a bronchodilator.